What will the results be? From a heated Senate race to our governor, we are tracking it all. Welcome to Nevada Elections 2022. I'm Renee Summerhour, and thank you for joining us from the Las Vegas Review-Journal studios. Today could determine some big changes for state representatives as Election Day is underway across the country. But here in Nevada, it is especially crucial with eyes on several key races. And with a third of voters listed as nonpartisan, it's anybody's race. Now, we'll be speaking throughout the day to our Review-Journal political experts with topics including the governor's race, which sees Republican candidate Sheriff Joe Lombardo challenge current governor and Democratic candidate Steve Sisolak. Also, in one of the closest U.S. Senate races in the country, Republican challenger Adam Laxalt is facing off against Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. The Senate race could shift the balance of power in the Senate. And up north, we will be checking with the special correspondents from University of Reno, Nevada, while they give us a look at voting stations and how it will impact issues important to the area. You can also follow us on lvrj.com and check out our elections page. It will also have all of the results as they start trickling in tonight once the Secretary of State starts the process. We will have another live update on that for you this evening. And while officials say it could take a while for counties to begin uploading results after the polls close, they did not make predictions as to when those results would begin to come in. Now, you might remember that during the 2020 election, it took 3 days for 90% of the votes to be reported. While Nevada has shown more mail ballot voters over the years, ballot postmarked by today have up to 4 days to arrive and be counted. In the meantime, here's a look at some of the numbers we do know from early voting. Democrats have a lead of about 29,000 votes in Nevada's two largest counties, Washoe and Clark, after the end of early voting, according to figures posted by the County Elections Office on Saturday. Now, that lead does not include vote totals in Nevada's 15 smaller rural counties. Here's a look at some of the polling places around Clark County. They opened at 7 a.m. ahead of reports of rain and wind gusts reaching up to 50 miles per hour today, but that didn't deter many from waiting in line. Clark County data shows more than 194,000 voters participated in early voting over the last 2 weeks in Clark County, with 120 voting centers set up in schools, community centers, and parking lots across the valley. It gives voters plenty of options. This morning, over at Desert Breeze Community Center, Las Vegas residents made their voices heard on what issues they were most concerned about this election cycle.
One of the most important things to me right now is the economy.
The senators, yes, that's extremely important because that, from what I understand, Nevada is going to be the deciding factor in, who runs the Senate at this particular point.
Other issues addressed by voters this morning included crime and education. In the days leading up to today's midterm elections, the Culinary Workers Union fired up its quest to knock on 1 million Clark County and Reno doors in canvassing sessions. Review-Journal's Ricardo Torres Cortez explains why this is different from years past.
Their previous record was 650,000 doors last presidential election. And they know the polls are close, but they think that just by talking to people, they will, one, get big turnout, and two, hopefully that turnout will support their candidates.
Late last week, the union canvassers visited more than 800,000 homes. State officials will oversee the 2022 election today and are responsible for handling problems that arise on election night. It all happens at the Election Command Center in Carson City. Review-Journal's Taylor Avery gives us a look inside of the center.
I think the most important thing, and this was stressed to me by the election officials, is that you need to be patient. They're all the way down from the county level up to the state level. They are tabulating those votes. They are counting the mail-in ballots. It's a very long, extensive process that they want to get right. And so being patient is the most important thing, and realizing that we won't even have the official results until November 22nd, which is something I didn't even realize. That's when the Supreme Court canvasses or basically certifies the votes, and that's when they are official.
And today in Carson City, with more than 59,000 residents, dozens of volunteers across all parties have been working to ensure a smooth process with voter protections. The in-person turnout up until today has been low as lines continue to grow on the final day to address issues important to them.
I'm very disappointed that in terms of the age groups that have been voting statewide, people my age, over 65, we've turned out. People, college age, it was like 9%. It's just shocking. So the issues that we care about, at least I care about, global warming, human rights, women's ability to control their own bodies. In my life, those really aren't issues. I just so encourage, it's too late now unless you're going to get to the polls and in line by 7 o'clock tonight, then you've lost your chance to vote. So please remember this, elections do have consequences.
And according to a recent poll of young voters conducted by Harvard University's Institute of Politics, voters under the age of 30 are projected to keep up or break records during this year's midterms. Special correspondent from UNR, Patrick McNabb, gives us an inside look on what voting for students on campus looks like.
Voting signs were scattered around the Joe Crowley Student Union on a beautiful Saturday morning for early voting. You could expect the line to be out of the door for something as important as voting, but there were very few voters. Former student Caleb McFall returned to UNR to cast his vote.
This is where I've always voted. It's pretty easy.
Pam Morrison is the polling manager at the Joe. Morrison said she feels a vast majority of students aren't voting because they don't feel like it is important, especially in the midterm elections. She tells me that a lot of students and younger people don't really understand the weight of any elections that aren't a presidential election. Political pundits, though, say the balance of the Senate and the country's direction could swing with how Nevadans vote. Abby Pike, a 21-year-old student, is hoping fellow students inform themselves about the election.
Definitely the most important part is making sure that you're educated on all levels of races, like especially the local races affect your community and you more than most people realize. So I would say looking into it, looking to organizations in the community who do work in civic engagement, those are all great ways to prepare to vote.
Thank you so much for joining us for our Nevada Elections 2022 coverage during this midterm election. For more live coverage and breaking news, be sure to visit lvrj.com. For the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I'm Renee Summerhour, and we will see you tonight at 7 p.m., as well as have more coverage on Nevada's election 2022.